Today on Dr. Phill.
Former Mother of the Year is accused of soliciting the rape of a woman.
She was outbid on her dream home.
They got the house you wanted, so you want them to suffer.
Yes, by hurting someone else, you feel better.
You put this on Craigslist with her address. Come to my home while my husband's gone. We'll get our freak on.
It became fun because I was anonymous.
You weren't anonymous. You were an alter ego for this innocent woman, and you sent a man to her door.
I did not view the danger.
If you didn't want her to get attacked, why did you post, "Take me even if I say no"?
Mother of the Year turned stalker. A Dr. Phill exclusive starts now.
Carmel Valley is a beautiful, affluent community in sunny San Diego. Known for its large houses and award-winning schools, it's the kind of neighborhood where people dream of raising a family. Kathy Rowe was one of those people, and in 2011, she fell in love with a home that she believed was perfect for her family. It had everything she wanted: space, a single story, and a sparkling pool. But Kathy's dream home was also someone else's, and she was outbid by another couple. That is where this story should have ended, but instead, it was the beginning of a nightmare for a young couple who thought they were getting a fairy tale home. Kathy Rowe embarked on a year-long reign of terror that ranged from sending thousands of dollars of magazines and adult diapers to the couple's house, to posing as the young wife online and arranging for men to show up at their home for sex.
Former Mother of the Year is accused of soliciting the rape of a woman after the victim and her husband bought a Carmel Valley home that she wanted to buy.
This is a very unique and in many ways disturbing case. Her deal began in September of 2011. Jerry and Janice outbid Rowe on this Carmel Valley home. Upset and hoping to scare them into giving up the house, took out an ad on Craigslist pretending to be Janice. She titled it Carmel Valley Freak Show and encouraged men to come to her home unannounced and have sex with her even if she said no.
The characterization of her email correspondence with several men asking them to come rape my wife as a childish prank is absurd.
Rowe also did things like send unsolicited mail to the home, as well as send Valentine's Day cards to female neighbors pretending to be Jerry.
Kathy Rowe first denied any involvement with these online posts when authorities tracked her internet address, but later she confessed and said it was all a prank.
Rowe pleaded guilty to felony stalking after prosecutors say she placed an online ad inviting men to rape a woman who bought the house that she wanted. The former Mother of the Year was sentenced today to a year of electronic home surveillance and 5 years probation.
Rowe told detectives the ad was a prank and that she didn't intend to do any harm.
Rowe's attorney says his client has PTSD as a result of having to care for her disabled daughter and sick husband. The victims shared some words of their own, telling the court their lives will never be the same.
I was diagnosed with PTSD and needed the assistance of anti-anxiety medication to help me cope with the stress.
I felt most secure away from my home. The house became my prison.
They say they still live in fear.
Last year, Kathy Rowe pled guilty to a felony stalking charge. In exchange for her plea, prosecutors dismissed felony charges of solicitation for rape and misdemeanor charges of identity theft and making annoying or threatening communication. So she was sentenced to a year of home electronic surveillance, 5 years of probation, and ordered to stay away from the couple for 10 years. Today, in a daytime exclusive, Kathy Rowe takes us inside her world and reveals what she claims pushed this one-time Mother of the Year over the edge. In fall of 11, there's this house, and there are 7 bidders on this house. It's a popular house. A lot of people are after this house. You place a bid on the house, but at the time that you place the bid, your actual realtor's out of town.
Mm-hmm.
So her partner is one you have to deal with that you don't really have a rapport with.
Correct.
And you later learn that this other couple also places a bid on the house.
Mm-hmm.
They win the bid.
Correct.
And their bid was better than yours, right? The money was quicker.
It was the same amount of money, but the terms were better.
Yeah,
Yes.
shorter term.
Correct.
They got the money sooner, so they win the bid on the house. And you don't even know that. You have to call and find out.
Well, I saw that the house was being termite inspected, so I called to find out, why am I seeing new owners and an inspection company there? I think the lack of communication made it more traumatic because I didn't have that rapport, that ability to get the person on the phone and talk to them. And then it also made it hard to find out that we lost it. And then when my realtor came back into town, she viewed it as not a big deal. She was sort of like, well, if it were meant to be, it would have happened, so we'll have to move on and find a different house. Not recognizing the trauma that we viewed it as.
Yeah, and in fact, you said, we just couldn't move on. They kind of offhandedly said, oh, you just didn't win it, you just didn't get the bid, like, no big deal. But it was a big deal to you.
Yes.
You're married, right?
Yes.
And you have children.
One child.
You have one daughter, and I understand that she suffers from a syndrome that she was born with, correct?
Correct, a genetic syndrome. Williams syndrome?
This is a syndrome that affects a lot of different functions within the body. There are developmental delays, it has intellectual impact, there are different kinds of physical impairments. This is a very pervasive syndrome that makes it very demanding on a caregiver across time, right?
Yes.
In fact, that was one of the reasons it was so important for you to find a one-story home.
Yes. She has medical issues, but she also has behavioral issues. She's like a 5-year-old, I would say. So it's difficult to get her to cooperate and do things. And we lived in a 2-story home, so it was very difficult to get her to go upstairs. So yes, a 1-story home would be so much easier.
And she is how old now?
She is 16.
How old was she in 2007?
9.
Okay. In 2006, you're one of San Diego's Mothers of the Year.
One of the 50 best in San Diego.
In San Diego.
Yes.
Fast forward, if you will, now to the fall of 2011. There's a particular home in a subdivision that you want, and it's 1 story. That's important to you.
Correct.
Because of your daughter.
Correct.
And there's not a lot of 1-story homes, right?
Not in
There's
this
some,
area.
but not a lot.
And they have to be in a particular school district.
Right.
And my husband, he also has medical issues. And
Right.
so there were some things that we wanted to get to accommodate him as well.
And his medical issues are?
He had a massive heart attack
Right.
in 2010. And he was becoming sicker and sicker during the time that this happened. It was hard for him to go up and down stairs.
So you've got the problems with your daughter. She's getting bigger, more difficult to manage. Now your husband, he's had the massive heart attack, has a reasonable recovery, but now he's beginning to fade.
There were so many things needing my help and my attention. I just became exhausted. I was working full time and then doing my husband's work at night and dealing with my daughter, had very severe school issues. And then my best friend became sick and her disabled son needed care. So I was literally like running myself ragged and trying to exist on 2 hours sleep. And it unfortunately affected my thinking. I thought I could cope with it and deal with it. And I didn't realize how poorly I was dealing with it until all of this happened.
You said, one of your quotes was, we just couldn't move on. Why? I mean, it's a big neighborhood, a lot of houses. There are other houses in the neighborhood. There are other 1-story houses in the neighborhood. Why couldn't you just find another house?
A couple of reasons. One, we had looked at like 100 homes, and this was unique. It was a former model home. It was the only floor plan in our whole community that had certain room layouts and certain features that we wanted. And then the first day it came on the market, we went and saw it. Everything was perfect. Everything all lined up, and it was exactly what we wanted.
But this wasn't just another house.
It wasn't, and it also my mindset at the time, I wasn't thinking very clearly. I was very sleep deprived. I was very stressed out. The other difficult thing about losing the house was that we then had to live in an apartment, which is very difficult with my daughter. That became stressful, and my husband was just miserable not living in a house. And so he would walk around going, oh, if we just got in that house.
Was this your dream house?
It was my dream house. The minute I walked in, it felt comfortable. I fell in love with it the moment I stepped foot into it.
All right, so you don't get your dream house for whatever reason. You wind up in an apartment. Things are not going well. That seemed to be a domino that started clicking things in a negative way. Why couldn't you let it go?
The emotions of being so upset and so angry at losing it, and angry with myself because I was the one interfacing with the realtor. I felt guilty, I felt angry at myself. I felt like I'd caused all these negative things to happen to our family. Those emotions were so strong that caused me to continue to focus on the house and eventually the homeowners.
You didn't know these people.
Not at all.
I really want you to travel back in time to the moment that you decided to do the first thing you did that wound up getting you in trouble.
Okay.
And what was that first thing?
Coming up.
You send Valentine's cards to each of the wives from the husband that say, thinking of you.
Correct.
You made a flyer for the local high school kids to advertise a New Year's party at their house.
This has been misunderstood.
We now return to Mother of the Year turned stalker, a Dr. Phill exclusive.
I really want you to travel back in time to the moment that you decided to do the first thing you did that wound up getting you in trouble.
Okay.
And what was that first thing?
Posting their house for sale on Zillow, I believe was the first thing.
Okay, so that's what you call Act One. Take me through that moment.
You would have to just feel so overwhelmed by things that you had to do, almost like panicky. You feel horrible and angry towards yourself. You're full of guilt and jealousy and all these emotions. It was sort of a way for me to, I mean, it's a horrible thing to say, that by hurting someone else, it makes you feel better. I mean, it's a very childish, immature, mean thing to say. But that, I think, is the bottom line of what happened.
I'm not asking you to analyze it. I'm asking you to take me through that moment at the time. Were you at your computer? Did you just on your computer?
Probably, yeah.
Well, no, probably. You either were or you weren't.
Yeah, I mean, I was hooked up to my computer pretty much 20 hours a day.
So you were at your computer. And what did you say to yourself? Did you say, I'm going to get them, I'm going to do, what did you say?
This has been misunderstood. This has been a really difficult thing to explain, because at the time, what I would say to myself is, wouldn't it be funny to do this? I guess it would help to explain when I was younger, like preteen, teenager, we used to do pranks to each other. That was a common thing among my friends. And when I was doing these, in my mind, they were the same thing. They weren't really the same thing, they were harmful, but my thinking at the time was so messed up that I viewed them as funny, not harmful.
So that seems really incongruous to me, because you just said, I'm up 20 hours, I'm totally overwhelmed, I'm just a zombie sitting there, but I've got this great sense of humor and I'm going to play this prank on these people because I think it's funny.
It was sort of a release, a pressure. They didn't try to harm me, they didn't mean to harm me, but them getting the house did harm me. You know, it's a little bit of payback. So it would make the pain less. I knew that the acts would cause embarrassment, annoy them.
You said that in a way you thought it felt like I could have a second chance at my dream home if it was back on the market.
I didn't really think it would come back on the market. I wasn't doing these things to try to drive them out of the house. It was more annoying and embarrassing them with the neighborhood. That was really more the driving force. It wasn't that I thought I would get the house, and in fact, we already owned a home. So if it had come up on market, I couldn't have purchased it anyway. Right. So,
but did it make you feel a little better?
It was more the feeling that I'm going through so much pain, so if I cause someone else a little bit of pain, it equalizes it or helps me feel better.
Well, you know, the old saying, misery loves company, right?
It's a horrible emotion.
Looking back, you say that was not a good thing to do. I get it. And what you said, I have it in quotes, I felt like I could get it, like I had a second chance at my dream home. It is really stupid now looking back at it. That's exactly verbatim what you said.
I know, okay. It was seeing the ads on Zillow. Yeah. That's what it was seeing it in writing for sale. It wasn't that I thought they would actually sell it. It was more emotionally seeing it for sale again. I could pretend like it was available.
Then you started sending magazines like Home and Garden and Cooking and magazines for incontinence and medical supplies. And what was the point of that?
To annoy them.
Just annoyance? Yeah,
having people come to their door or having things come to their house that
they got thousands of dollars worth of invoices.
Correct. And I did reimburse them for all of the expenses, but it was certainly a pain in the neck calling up and canceling all these magazines. That created a tremendous amount of work for them.
You said it was funny to me, not malicious. You said it was just funny. Is that kind of evil funny?
Yeah, now I would say it's evil funny. It's not the way I normally think. I'm not a revenge type person. You
said you saw it as annoying and funny, but not hurtful. I mean,
not hurtful in the sense that they would be attacked in their home or injured or raped. Not that kind of harmful.
You stopped their mail at Christmas time.
Correct.
You made a flyer for the local high school kids to advertise a New Year's party at their house.
Actually, it was on Craigslist as a local event.
It said something like live band and keg party for the high school?
For the one local, yes, the local high school in our area.
We're now into like the fifth thing you've done. Now jumped into February, Valentine's Day. You send Valentine's cards to 6 other homes on the cul-de-sac to each of the wives from the husband that say, thinking of you.
Correct.
And then his initials. What was the end game there?
I now see it's to sort of poison their relationship. They were new to the neighborhood. The neighbors don't know them. I can see now that those activities with the neighbors, sending them magazines, the Valentines, posting things, was really sort of to poison their relationship, where their new neighbors would think, gosh, these are weird people or wild people, or we don't really want to get to know them. That's, I think, the bottom line of what my actions would have done.
So to be alienated, maybe move away?
And not so much to move away. It hurt me that they had purchased the house, moved in, and now they were going to be accepted in the neighborhood.
Okay, but it wasn't because you wanted them to move out so you could buy the house.
No.
You just wanted them to suffer. They got the house you wanted, so you want them to be miserable. You want them to be alienated from their neighbors and not be happy in your dream home.
Yeah, now I realize that's what I was doing. Yes, absolutely.
You went on Craigslist and it said, see me any day when my husband is not home, we can put our freak on. You were soliciting people to come to her home to rape her.
Mother of the Year turned stalker. A Dr. Phill daytime exclusive continues.
A former Mother of the Year recipient pleaded guilty to felony stalking charges. According to prosecutors, 53-year-old Kathy Rowe placed an ad online inviting men to come to a woman's home in Carmel Valley and rape her. Rowe was apparently upset that the woman and her husband bought a house that Rowe wanted. She told detectives the ad was a prank and that she didn't intend to do any harm.
You sent out a flyer to the neighbor. A sex offender had recently moved into the area. You wanted the neighbors to think, who is the wild couple? They are potentially sex offenders?
Yes, it had said that one had moved in, and certainly the neighbors, because they've lived there a long time, would assume that it was this couple. So again, it's poisoning the relationship with the new neighbors. These are horrible, horrible, immature, awful things to do, but that is what I did.
Did you watch them to see how they reacted?
No.
You didn't drive by to see if there were a bunch of magazines on the porch?
No.
You didn't drive by to see if people were knocking on their doors or anything?
No.
Did you watch this family?
No.
You sent religious missionaries to their home, like Mormons and what, Jehovah's Witnesses types, or you sent people to door knock them?
Yeah, I signed up for 2 websites. I can't remember. One was Mormon, that you could have somebody come visit to you.
You went on Craigslist under Carmel Valley Community Activities, under the Carmel Valley Freak Show, and it said something like, see me any day when my husband is not home, we can put our freak on. And you ultimately got charged with solicitation of rape.
Correct.
The allegation was that you were soliciting people to come to her home to rape her in a role play situation while she said no.
Right. That was not my intention, but that is how the district attorney's office viewed it. It was a big lesson, especially with the internet and computers. What you may think you're doing can be viewed very differently by other people. So they couldn't get in my head and know what I was trying to do, what I was thinking. It was, again, one of those embarrassing things for the neighborhood that they would think they were wild. That was really the intention of that.
But you put this up with her address.
Correct.
Contact me, come to my home while my husband's gone, we'll get our freak on, and put up her address.
Correct. I was thinking that the neighbors would see the ad, and I did not view the danger in posting the address, but at the time my thinking was so messed up that I would just sort of focus on this part of the action and not realize all these other things could occur as well.
And you got responses.
Correct.
And you gave information to one of these men.
Coming up.
It became fun emailing back and forth with these guys because I was anonymous.
You weren't anonymous, you were an alter ego for this
right.
innocent woman in this house, and you
Right.
sent a man to her door.
We now return to Mother of the Year turned stalker, a Dr. Phill exclusive.
This woman, she was voted Mother of the Year. Her heart is set on buying a dream home. She bids. She gets outbid. And what does she do, according to police? She goes online and she orders a hit, and she orders a rape of the woman that outbid her for the dream home. Now, I want you to listen to some of the ads. I love to be surprised and have a man just show up at my door and force his way in the door and force himself on me, totally taking me, while I scream no. She's talking to these men online. She says, come by any Monday, Friday, 9 to 3. I like the element of surprise.
You gave information to one of these men.
One, yes.
You gave a picture.
Yes.
So it wasn't just for the neighbors to see it. You just post it. That doesn't make sense. You post it, they see it, they think, oh, weird couple here. But you got a response and some guy you say looked like Mr. Rogers, he had on a sweater, so you thought, okay, he looks okay. So you answer him, you give him the picture.
Correct.
You egg him on to come to the house. So that wasn't for the neighbors.
No,
that was
no,
to get somebody to her front door that you don't know anything about.
It was more...
Have you ever seen Gacy? Have you ever seen Dahmer? Have you ever seen these guys? They look a lot more like
Right.
Mr. Rogers than they do the Incredible Hulk.
Mm-hmm. No, it was an incredibly stupid and cruel and could have potentially been horribly dangerous. I understand that.
You didn't give this guy the picture for the neighbors.
No.
You didn't get him to go to the door for the neighbors. You got him to go to the door for her.
Correct. It was the Craigslist ad that was for the neighbors. I had done that in April, and I did that again in June. In April, I never got any kind of responses. I wasn't expecting to in June. When I got the emails, that was unexpected, and then it became sort of fun emailing back and forth with these guys because I was anonymous.
You weren't anonymous. You were an alter ego for this
right.
innocent woman in this house, and you
Right.
sent a man to her door.
Right. I totally accept responsibility. That is what I did. At the time, my communication with them was not so much dealing with her, it was really focusing on the conversation with the men, having fun, telling them all kinds of ridiculous things.
Ridiculous things like, I think
Correct.
you said, I think I said something in our correspondence like, quote, I like it when men come through the door, take me even if I say no.
Correct.
Is that not predicate to rape?
Coming up.
If you didn't want her to get attacked, you wouldn't have sent a man to her door with the instruction, I like it when they keep going when I say no.
Correct. If I had wanted her raped, I would have kept talking to him. When he asked for the address, I would have given him the address.
If you didn't want her raped, you wouldn't have written those words.
Mother of the Year turned stalker. A Dr. Phill daytime exclusive continues.
You said, I like it when they come through the door and take me even if I say no. Is that not predicate to rape?
Sitting here today, absolutely.
That has nothing to do with the neighbors. That has to
No.
do with getting that woman raped.
That was not my intention. My intention is to keep describing weirder and weirder things, seeing what their reaction was, seeing if they would figure out that I was not who I said I was. I've never sexted or whatever you call it. This is the first time that I've ever written these types of emails, and I think because it wasn't my name out there, it gave me sort of the ability to do it without them knowing who I was. It was sort of a safety feature for me, but unfortunately that became an unsafety feature for her. So when I was emailing back and forth with the guys, it was not like this diabolical thing of, oh, I can get her hurt. It was more really enjoying the back and forth of the emails with the men. Every other comment and email after that was all about consensual acts. And in fact, the man that I wrote that line to made me nervous. When he sent his picture, he didn't seem like fun and funny and somebody who could take a joke. He just didn't look like that, a good-natured kind of person. And so I stopped communicating with him. If I had wanted her to get attacked, I would have kept talking to him. I would have focused my communications on non-consensual activities. I would have picked the more dangerous guy to communicate with. So it was not to create danger with her.
If you didn't want her to get attacked, you wouldn't have sent a man to her door with the instruction, I like it when they keep going when I say no.
Well, I actually did not send him to the door. He sent the photo. It made me very nervous, what he looked like in his photo. And he asked for the address, and I refused to give it to him, and I cut off communications with him.
Let me ask you about this.
Sure.
I'm pretty much home all day, every day, bored and incredibly horny. I love to be surprised and have a man just show up at the door and force his way in the door and on me, totally taking me while I say no. Janice, what is the person who is writing this trying to do to you?
She wanted me raped.
This is my wife they're talking about. There's no mistaking the intent there.
Okay, how can they view that any other way? You've communicated that to someone. You've said, I'm home, I love to be surprised, I want somebody to take me while I say no. You have set the parameters. You've said sex game. Only difference is he ain't coming to your house.
Correct.
You didn't say come to my house. You gave her address.
Correct.
You just didn't tell her he's coming. But he came.
Yes, he did. Not that man, but another man, the man that looked like Mr. Rogers. I totally understand that that is how they view it. And if the shoes were on the other foot, I could totally see if someone wrote that about me, that would be my interpretation. The whole series of emails are describing more and more bizarre, disgusting things. And when they would come back and say, oh, I don't like that, then I would focus on those even more, trying to make them uncomfortable. See what point are they going to stop communicating with me.
Those were your words, right?
But if
you wrote those words.
Correct. If I had wanted her raped, I would have kept talking to him. When he asked for the address, I would have given him the address.
But if you didn't want her raped, you wouldn't have written those words.
At the time, 50 Shades of Grey was very popular. It was more role-playing.
But it wasn't about you. It was about an innocent woman that didn't know she was being talked about.
Coming up.
You're saying, I'm sleep deprived. I don't have enough time. I'm barely getting 2 hours of sleep a night, but you've got time to be ordering magazines and setting up Craigslist and having sex talk. It just doesn't make common sense.
We now return to Mother of the Year turned stalker, a Dr. Phill exclusive.
I believe that Miss Rowe continues to be a dangerous person because of her skills of manipulation and her ability to lie. You know, I kind of think she has more of a reason now to attack us.
I'd like to comment on that.
Please.
One, I'm not manipulative. Two, I have been very, very honest with the district attorney and everyone. In fact, we scheduled a special meeting with them. I came and gave them all kinds of information, told them, yes, I did these things. I've been very, very honest and trying to take responsibility for my actions. As soon as I started to sleep, which was in early July 2012, like within a week of doing that, I stopped these actions because I had more ability to see what they were doing, what their impact was.
I've often said, if I wanted to make somebody just really psychotic and I could control one thing, it would be sleep.
I think there are a lot of people who lose a night of sleep here or there and they feel tired the next day, they get better sleep for a few days and then they're fine. But chronic sleep deprivation is really an entirely different phenomenon. It's when we're shorting sleep by half or more every night for a long, long period of time. We see lapses in judgment, we see poor memory, poor concentration. Like in Kathy's situation, the brain actually starts to function less and less.
Jerry and Janice would never forget the jolt of fear they felt as a cop gave it to them straight.
He said whoever was doing it was probably pretty sick. They were probably watching, and that sent chills down my back.
I was not, in fact, watching. I never did anything to their home. I never sat outside their home. I never sent them something weird in the mail. I never did anything that's considered traditional stalker actions. I did not do that.
If this is because you are burning the candle at both ends, if this because you are 20 hours a day trying to cover for your husband, trying to fill the void for him, taking care of your daughter, going through all of the work, everything, no time to sleep, no energy left, no ability to keep everything going. You don't have time to do what you're doing, and now you're spinning this web around innocent people that don't know it. It just doesn't make sense. You're saying, I'm sleep deprived, I don't have enough time, I'm barely getting 2 hours of sleep a night, but you've got time to be ordering magazines and setting up Craigslist and having sex talk with people on the internet. It just doesn't make common sense.
It would take, like, let's say 15 minutes or something. If you look at the emails, they're all pretty quick. They're not like novels. And I would sort of take a mental vacation and focus on this for a while and then come back to the work that I was on.
And what you want people to know is that you are sorry.
Oh.
That you're not some sociopath that has no empathy for these people, no remorse.
I would say devastated is the word by my behavior. I had to go into therapy because I felt like the lowest form of life and like I didn't deserve to be here anymore. I was very suicidal. I couldn't deal well with what I had done and also to all these other innocent people because my behavior didn't just affect them. It had an impact on a lot of other people in my life.
And you've been forthcoming with law enforcement, cooperated, you've helped in every way that you can. You're wearing a monitoring device now because you're on house arrest.
Correct.
If these people got transferred and they moved off to Bangor, Maine, and that house went on the market today, would you buy it? If that house went on the market today, would you buy it?
No, because we bought our own house and we've settled into it.
It's your dream house.
I mean, it hurts. I will always look at that house as what could have been. That when we were there, we should have made an offer and gotten it. So it's viewing it as something that I really screwed up.
If that couple is watching this right now, what do you want them to know?
Well, I've tried for 3 years to tell them how sorry I am. I wrote them a very long letter of apology. It was 3 pages long, and I wanted to explain to them what happened, why, and that I now understood what I had done was wrong, that they didn't have to worry about me doing anything else towards them. Also, my attorney on my behalf went to the district attorney to find out what things could I do to make amends to them. And the only thing they would allow us to do was reimburse them for all their out-of-pocket expense. So I did that. I wouldn't drive in their track. I wouldn't shop in our local area because I didn't want to run into them. I tried to do what I could to make amends, knowing that no matter what I did, it would be this much amends, and this was the nightmare I caused them. I'm actually a very nice person who did really horrible things.
The good thing about behaviors is they have a beginning and an end. You can stop doing behaviors.
Yeah.
And you stop doing it at this point. So
I did long ago. It's the repercussions will never stop. Those will be forever.
Kathy is someone that you predict a good and productive life from going forward, right?
If she's able to stay grounded in the fact that, you know, people make mistakes, and her mistake was lack of self-care that ended up in, you know, real harm. You know, she was not taking care of herself before this happened. She was taking care of everybody else. And I think she finally does understand life is about balance. This is not about her being a bad person. This is about her making, extremely poor judgment calls. And I think if she can get through that piece, honestly, I'd predict a better Kathy.
I've always said you can't give away what you don't have, so you gotta do it. All right, Dr. Breslin, thank you so much for this. I appreciate you letting us talk to her because I think it's a great teaching tool, and I appreciate your insights into how you think she got in this situation.
My pleasure.
For all of you mothers out there that are burning the candle at both ends, you can take a lesson, maybe tear a page from Kathy Rowe's book. Does sleep deprivation explain all of this story? Maybe, maybe not. But decision making is something that you have to own the consequences of. And for sure, we know that you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And we certainly know that when you choose the behavior, you do choose the consequences. For more information about this and the warning signs that you may be getting exhausted, go to drphill.com. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.
Today on Dr. Phill, a mother acquitted of kidnapping.
When they searched the vehicle, was there a gun?
There was a gun. She said that she would kill my daughter and herself before being caught.
I did not.
Which parent?
Why'd you go on the road?
Because I feared for our lives.
Is telling the truth?
She threatened to kill our daughter and herself.
You threatened to kill her.
Our daughter herself.
You threatened that we would not make it to that court hearing alive.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I'll try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, today we're talking about a story that made local headlines and spurred a manhunt for a mother on the run accused of kidnapping her then 4-year-old daughter during a custody dispute. Now, the mother, Laura, fled with the toddler across state lines from Pennsylvania to Ohio to Florida to Utah, where she was finally apprehended by U.S. Marshals. Now, Laura was charged with kidnapping to facilitate a felony, kidnapping to terrorize another, and interference with custody of children. But, surprisingly, she was acquitted of all charges. Now, Laura says her estranged husband is the one committing a crime by withholding their daughter from her. In fact, since their time on the run, she hasn't seen her child. And get this, it's been 4 years. But Joe says he has good reason for withholding that child. Take a look.
Laura had threatened that she would kill my daughter and herself. She threatened to go on the run multiple times. She bought a handgun and she started to threaten killing herself various times, shooting me various times. Whenever she started to threaten to kill my daughter, that's when it became something that I couldn't accept. The custody hearing, she didn't show. And at that point, I didn't know if I would ever see my daughter ever again, let alone alive. My worst fear is that she'll be killed by her own mom. I got a phone call, Sergeant Jim Phelps from the United States Marshals, and he said, "We have rescued your daughter." I was ecstatic. I was relieved. According to Sergeant Phelps, he said that the living conditions in the vehicle that Laura had kidnapped my daughter in were just deplorable. There was this urine smell. My daughter was just in this small, confined space, which led to my daughter getting a very, very severe sinus infection. He did find her gun in the vehicle. When we were reunited, I was ecstatic and got to give her a big hug. That was truly a great, great, great day. Laura went to jail, awaiting trial. We had the trial, and then she was acquitted. And at that point, she's capable of anything. I look over my shoulder every time I take my daughter to school. What's she going to do? Is she going to kill our daughter and herself and me? One of my fears is that if Laura had any kind of visitation to our daughter, she would just take off again. I never want to lose my daughter again. I'm not going to let that happen.
Okay, it's been 4 years since she was arrested. And when they arrested her in Utah, what was the condition and circumstance of the arrest, as far as you understand. Was she, your daughter was in the car?
Yes.
What was the condition and shape of the car?
Oh, well, first of all, the vehicle was packed full of all kinds of objects and things like that. 2 dogs were kept in the vehicle. Food all over the place. Apparently there was, like the smell of milk and urine. And the reason that they had the U.S. Marshals had a great, rescue plan for my daughter. They found the opportunity when Laura left my daughter in the vehicle to go to a gas station. She left her in the vehicle by herself with the 2 dogs to go into a gas station. That's when the U.S. Marshals, rescued my daughter.
So they were tracking her?
Oh, yes.
So why not just pull her over? If they were following her, they knew she was in the car, so they knew she had the daughter. They wanted her. They wanted the daughter. They're following her. Why not just pull her over, arrest her, and take the daughter?
Because of the risk. Back in 2010, Dr. Phill, I had to get an attorney to seek equal custody rights of my daughter. I wasn't allowed to take my daughter anywhere, except for the walk park. We called it the walk park because it was within the walking distance. She said, if you leave your keys and your cell phone here, then you can take her to the walk park. Well, anything to spend time with my daughter. I would always spend time with my daughter. When I got an attorney, that's when things got very, very bizarre. Laura made a 3-fold threat that day that she found out that I had an attorney seeking equal custody rights. She said, Joe, I'm not going to court. I'm going off grid. And then she said that she would kill my daughter and herself before being caught.
The police believed that if they closed in,
yes,
that she would kill the child and herself.
Yes. So there was a high risk of that happening because she had a gun with her.
So they felt like if they pulled her over, there was a good chance it would turn into a hostage situation and murder-suicide.
Yes. So
that was their belief.
That's exactly right.
So they waited until they had been monitoring her, they're following her. They waited until she left the car. Then they quickly grabbed the child.
That's exactly right.
Once they had the child, they grabbed her.
Yes.
When they did take the child and her, and they searched the vehicle, was there a gun?
There was a gun, yes.
So why was she running?
Well,
what was going on that made her feel like she had to go off the grid?
Okay, well, she seemed to have this belief that everyone is out to molest our child. Everyone, Dr. Phill. I mean, I'm not the only person she's suspected of child molestation, and I'm not being over the top here. She truly believed everyone, including pediatricians.
What was it that you would do that made her believe you were a risk?
I mean, we got into arguments. We got into different arguments and stuff.
Are you a yeller? Are you a screamer? Are you a fighter? Are you? Well, I'm not asking about both of you. I'm asking about you.
Okay. Yes, I would yell, I would scream, and I would say stupid things. And I did that.
So you told her if she went to the child custody hearing, she would not make it out alive. Is what she's told us.
No, that's
that
not
if
true.
she went to court, if she showed up. She would not make it out alive.
No, good God, no.
I'm just telling you what she told her.
Okay.
She said,
I believe she told you that.
She said, there's 2 things. That she could not go to court because if she went to court, you would either A, kill her, or B, flip the system, which she thinks you've now done, flip the system and take her daughter away from her.
How? They have security at the courthouse.
You said there were times that she would attack you.
Oh, very much so, yeah.
Physically?
Yeah, I had to go to
hit
the
you,
hospital, yes.
That you went to the ER several times.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very graphic about how she would hit you in the head, hit you in the face, break your glasses.
Ribs.
She pushed me so you'd go to the ER. You either went to the ER because you were injured or you went to the ER because you were building a case and you wanted hospital documentation of the attacks.
I understand.
There's 2 reasons. You go 1 or 2 reasons.
Right.
And you were very graphic in telling us about her attacks on you, and then you kind of said, and there were times along there that I said stupid things. It was you were very vague about the stupid things you said, but you were very graphic about the stupid things she did.
Okay.
So fill me in about the stupid things you said.
The stupid things, and we've been through a lot of different marital counseling and stuff, and the stupid things I would say, and I know I shouldn't have said them, is like I would bring her family into it. Your father's an you know, just call them a bunch of names. I call her mother a bunch of names, and, you know, I call her a bunch of names. And, you know, I mean, I said, you know, some very hurtful things and stuff. Why are you, you know, messed up in the head? It was a very dumb thing to say, and I said it multiple times. And
Were you a yeller?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was, yes. Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to meet Laura and find out why she feels like she was forced to go on the run with her daughter. And understand, she was acquitted. She says, when I left, I had custody, and I was going because I feared for her life. And I'm going to let her tell us her point of view. No matter what, there's two sides to the story. We're going to hear the other side. We'll be right back.
I was charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and a count of interference with child custody. I had my gun with me for protection when we were fleeing. I was determined to protect my daughter.
And later,
You threatened to kill her.
Our daughter
You threatened that we would not make it to that court hearing alive. You're terrorizing us.
The last time that I actually saw my daughter before Laura kidnapped her was at a fast food restaurant.
Joe started talking to our daughter about a mother who had drowned her children.
Laura was trying to explain to my daughter that sometimes parents have to kill their children in order to protect them.
When I was getting our daughter into her car seat, he leaned into our daughter's face and screamed at her, "Mommy's gonna kill you."
I was terrified as to what Laura was going to do. I didn't know if I would ever see my daughter ever again.
Laura says she had no choice but to go on the run with her daughter several years ago. She says her estranged husband, Joe, was a violent man who threatened to kill her and their daughter, and no court order could stop him. But Joe says, no. It was Laura who was threatening to harm their daughter, not him. He says she even told the then toddler that sometimes parents, quote, have to kill kids to protect them. Now, we've heard from Joe. Now, here's what Laura has to say about the events that led up to her fleeing the state with their child.
Joe has done nothing but obstruct and harm the relationship between my daughter and I. Joe has repeatedly told me that he was going to kill me. He had threatened me with obtaining a gun from his father and with a knife. With the violence increasing, we fled. The only thing I could think of was putting distance between us. We headed to Utah because Utah had some very progressive laws on the books protecting children. In Utah, we were apprehended at the gas station. I was charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and a count of interference with child custody. I had my gun with me for protection when we were fleeing. I was determined to protect my daughter. After 2 days of trial, I was acquitted. I had every expectation of being able to see my daughter again after I was found not guilty. Instead, there was nothing but a wall of resistance. I am terrified that with coming forward, he's going to become vindictive and that he's going to harm our daughter, that he'll kill her.
Okay, Laura, I'm going to give you a chance to kind of weigh in on all this, and you've been listening to everything so far, correct?
Yes, I have.
Joe has said that you made it clear you're not going to court, you're going off the grid, that when you got a lawyer, you said, you need to get rid of that lawyer, you need to drop this, or I'm gonna run off, and if they catch up to me, I'll kill her and myself.
Dr. Phill, you have to understand, my estranged spouse is a pathological liar. He turns around and flips everything he does onto myself, our daughter, anybody that he can blame for his behavior.
Do you have any proof about this pathological liar stuff? I mean,
actually, I do. You turned around and accused me of having been 302'd, and it's on a police report. And I have never been 302'd. 302 in the state of Pennsylvania is an involuntary commit to a psychiatric ward.
I remember
I would not be able to have owned a gun.
had I been 302'd.
So going on the run.
So you lie to police officers.
You could have had it. If you went to court, all you had to do was show up to court, and then you had to
show
have
up to
protection.
court and have us killed by your father's 9mm gun
Jesus,
that you
my dad
professed
doesn't
that
even
you were
own
going
a
to
gun.
get and kill us with.
He doesn't even own a gun, for Christ's sake.
Time and again, you have threatened us with that. You've left my gun out for us to see,
That's just
loaded
not even
on
true.
the bed.
That is not even true. Why didn't you show up to court?
The
They had to send you
epitome of a
6 letters
batterer.
to the house to say
You are
show
the
up for
epitome
court.
of a domestic abuser.
Oh, well, then why didn't you show up? You got a temporary PFA against me that time. That was the first part of court.
You defrauded the county of Clearfield with your lies.
How?
How? By enacting a malicious prosecution against a woman who was trying to protect her child from you,
You didn't show
and
up to the
your
hearing, for the
comments
love of everything
and your
good.
actions and your violent behavior in front of
Jesus,
our daughter.
Laura,
All of it.
Why did you go on the run?
Because I feared for our lives, Dr. Phill.
No, you wanted control is what you wanted. I'm terribly sorry.
You feared for your lives in that you thought if you showed up at the hearing, he would kill you at the
Yes,
courthouse?
he was tracking us across 3 counties. He made it known that if we showed up, he had pulled up in the back alley, and he had told me that if we showed up, that we would not, well, excuse me, he said if we attempted to show up, we would not make it to the hearing.
Look, the truth does not have versions. Right. You know, it's like you either pull up in an alley and say, you will never make it to the hearing alive.
Why didn't you call the cops then?
Or you didn't. And I want to know, did that happen or did it not happen?
It did happen. He was driving his mother's car.
Okay, now, you say it did and you say it didn't.
If that happened, Dr. Phill, if I were in her position, I would call the police. I would say, hey, officer,
I
he's
didn't
threatening
ask you what you would do if you were her. I'm
Okay.
just asking you if you did it or you didn't.
I did not.
One of you's lying.
I fully agree with you. Fully agree with you.
One of you's lying. So I got parents that say they want help, that say they want reunification, but yet somebody's lying to me here.
All throughout our relationship, Laura did have some very bizarre conspiracy theories. She told me about these alien lizard people and how they work with the government.
And later, did you say that you were going off the grid, that if they closed in on you, you would kill your daughter and yourself?
All throughout our relationship, Laura did have some very bizarre conspiracy theories. She thought people were out to get her. There was a white truck at our neighbor's house, and she thought that there were government officials in there monitoring everything she's doing. She told me about these alien lizard people and how they work with the government, and there's some sort of breeding program. She thought there was a neo-Nazi group going after her because she made a comment online. One of my many concerns that if Laura is allowed to speak with my daughter, is she going to pass on these very bizarre, unfounded beliefs?
You believed that there were alien lizards that were in a conspiracy with the government.
That was his attempt to discredit me.
To work against you.
That was his attempt to discredit me, just as his comment to the police officer of me having a 302 in my history.
Did you ever believe there
No.
were lizard
No.
aliens
No.
in conspiracy with the
No.
government? He said you believe there was a neo-Nazi group that was after you.
No.
What about the computer hacker, my friend, that you, whenever you tried to get that civil protection order in Ohio against me, you said that I have a friend who is a computer hacker who hacked your security, hacked her phone company,
Actually,
went
what
into
I told
their
them
phone
was
company
I
records,
supplied them
and
with
then,
a copy of my Facebook, and I showed them where he had contacted
If I need
me.
some help interviewing her...
I'm sorry.
You are the first guy...
I believe you.
...that I will put on the don't call list.
Okay.
Because you don't get answers, you make speeches.
Okay.
He said there was a box truck parked down the street, a white box truck, and you thought there were people in it watching you and
No.
monitoring you.
No.
Do you have paranoid ideation at times?
I am aware of stalking because of Joe and his efforts to have his friends keep track of me. If that's paranoid ideation, then I believe the government actually has a website on their DOJ to report group or gang stalking. So no, I don't believe that there's all kinds of people out there tracking me down. I believe it's very specific, linked to very specific individuals.
I have no one tracking her down, Dr. Phill.
Laura says she ran because she was in fear for their lives, but Joe insists he was the one being abused. In fact, he says he was the one who ended up in the ER 3 different times, all because of Laura.
Laura is a very violent person, very hostile, and I had to go to the hospital a few times.
I have been slapped. I had a knife held against my throat.
She pushed me into the kitchen door. I fell to the floor. It was extremely painful.
He had me in a bear hug, and I pushed off of him. He proceeded to slide down the door like he was having an epileptic fit. I realized that he was completely faking.
I went to the ER, and that's when they had said that I had bruised ribs. We were all driving along. We got into an argument. She hit me right between the eyes. I was bleeding.
He claimed that I had physically assaulted him when, in fact, while I was driving, he turned around and grabbed me.
Laura said, we have to talk. She grabbed this large bone that she had bought for our 2 dogs. She was holding it like a baseball bat. She said she was going to smash my scalp. I stood up. She wound it up like a bat. I pushed her through to get out.
I've never threatened to hurt him with a dog bone. That's ridiculous. I fully believe he's capable of self-harm in order to say that I did it to him.
She's capable of some very violent and horrible things.
Okay, did you tell your daughter that sometimes parents have to kill kids to protect them?
No, I did not. And in fact, he's spinning that as well. We were at a restaurant, and
did you tell her any version of that?
No, no, I did not.
Like that? Did
no.
you imply that maybe it would be him that would do it, or?
No, I have never told her anything about parents harming their children. That is not something you would tell a child.
That was the last time I saw
terrorizing
my
a child.
Until she was rescued.
Are you saying that he molested your daughter?
I'm saying I believe he did.
Do you believe that he was molesting your daughter and you didn't follow through with it?
He was going to kill us.
Oh, Jesus.
After having done this as long as I have, I'm really frustrated when people clearly have an agenda. I want to kind of look at the way you two just see history differently. Now, in '98, according to Laura, this was the first time that you say Joe slapped you, back in '98. Then in '99, you say Joe's getting really violent temper-wise and he's punching holes in the wall, right? Okay. Now, we jump forward now, and during this time, y'all have decided to get married. And
yeah.
Because you're good problem solvers and
yes,
you're good at problem recognition. And you say that you, at the time, you both said that you were very much in love and you were very clingy and lovey-dovey and kind of sickening, actually.
Yes.
You described yourself. It was just that you were insecure, that you were both jealous, and that it was, but you did get married, right? You agree that? You did get married. Were you in love?
No.
Why did you get married?
I believed that I was needed. I was having my loyalties, my belief system completely turned against me. And in retrospect, I can see that, but at the time, I did not. At the time, I thought that I was in a long-term relationship, and this person was part of my life, and he needed me. and he needed my help, and that it was actually what had been said to me by him. And I thought that I could help. I thought that I could change things.
I have a different perspective on that.
Really? Okay. Was there ever a time that you weren't a victim?
Early on, I think, yeah. I believe that we were having fun, that we were dating, that he truly cared. I believe that there was something there.
But you didn't choose to get married. You got married because you were manipulated into it.
It was kind of,
it was a manipulation.
He presented it as, this was what we should do, and all of our friends, believe that we should get married because they bought the public act. They bought the we're this happy couple.
But
behind the scenes, it was not like that at all.
You didn't own any of the decision at all.
Dr. Phill, I'd been being abused for years.
Okay. Okay, so in 2006, you thought a pediatrician molested your daughter?
No, that's Joe's terminology. We had a daughter. She was an infant. She was constipated at the time, and we were not presented with other options. And prior to that, actually, Joe himself had refused a pediatrician for doing the same procedure.
Okay, but did you believe that it was molestation? He allowed this pediatrician to molest your daughter?
I did not call it molestation, no. I thought it was an unnecessary procedure. I thought that there was something else that could have been.
She would have died. My daughter would have died.
There were other options
that
were available that we were not presented with.
We tried homeopathic as well.
It was not. I'm not talking about the homeopathic. See, you don't even research anything. I'm talking about the fact that there is a balloon procedure that they can do that tests sphincter reflex.
But you didn't call it molestation?
No, I did not.
According to Laura, the daughter says, "Daddy ouched my butt."
That is not true.
You believe that you were in peril of hearing and you ran across 4 states. So if you believed he was
because he was going to kill us.
You're saying along about this time, Laura isolates you and the daughter.
That is correct.
She wants you to cut off all contact with everybody.
And I did. We did. My parents and
family,
relatives
friends,
did not see.
everybody.
Yes.
Dr. Phill, that's actually reversed as well. And not only that, but he's sitting here claiming that there is no possibility that this went on. There's a CYS record. There are medical records.
Are you saying that he molested your daughter?
I'm saying I believe he did.
And did you report that?
Yes, I did.
And was it investigated?
We were told to go for a forensic interview, and at that point...
Was it investigated?
There was no follow-through on that.
Okay, so you believe that he was molesting your daughter, and you didn't follow through with it?
No, because he was going to do the same thing he did in 2010. He was going to use the system against me and rip her away.
How did I use the system? I don't understand that.
He's had her without anybody.
You believe that you were in peril of hearing and you ran across 4 states. So if you believed he was
because he was going to kill us.
Oh, Jesus.
He was going to get his father's 9mm gun and
My dad
kill
doesn't
us.
own any weapons.
I'm just asking.
I had no, and I know this sounds like an excuse, but I had no eyewitness knowledge to him actually doing that. And that's what I was at war with myself as to whether it was actually going on or not.
So you weren't sure?
At the time, no, I wasn't sure.
All right.
Accuse me of that.
Now, according to Joe, Laura hits him in the chest and he goes to the ER. Then on the 20th of 2009, according to Joe, Laura hits him in the head and he goes to the ER. Then 2/20 of 10, according to Joe, Laura puts a tracking device on his phone. Then on March 1st of 2010, according to Joe, Laura hits him in the face and he goes to the ER. How many stitches did you get each of these times?
I received no stitches, Doctor.
Okay, and how many times were you admitted for treatment?
I was treated and released.
You were treated and released?
Yes.
In 6/20/10, according to Laura, Joe starts custody proceedings. And according to Joe, Laura says, drop the custody proceedings or, quote, I will go off the grid with the daughter. And in the summer, according to Joe, Laura threatens to smash his skull. And then in December, according to Laura, Joe tells the daughter, Mommy's going to kill you. And according to Joe, Laura tells daughter, sometimes parents have to kill kids to protect them. You say you didn't say that.
I did not say that.
Did you say that you were going off the grid and that if the police got after you, which you knew they would, that if they closed in on you, you would kill your daughter and yourself?
I did not, Dr. Phill, and the evidence for that fact is the fact that the gun that I own was underneath all the baggage that we had behind the passenger side seat in a lock and gun case, not reachable. Not only that, but there's the claim that I was leaving to go pay for the gas. There were three videotapes of my arrest, and not one of them was produced for my trial. Okay? But the fact is that I did not. If I was
the evidence that proves you didn't say that is that your gun was in a different part of the car. I mean, to me, that evidence is that you had the means to carry it out. But
how am I going to dig through all that? It's too time-consuming to dig through all that stuff to try to find.
I'm just asking if you said it.
No, I did not.
I'm not even asking if you meant it.
No,
you
I did
certainly
not.
may not have meant it. It's a big difference between saying and doing. I'm just asking if you said it. Maybe you said it to scare them.
No.
But you never said to him or anybody else.
No, I never threatened my daughter's life.
All right, we have to take a quick break. When Laura went on the run, she hid out at her sister Jean's house for 2 weeks. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
She's lying to cover up the fact that her husband walked in on my daughter bathing twice, and she did nothing.
A statement from Laura's sister, Jean. Laura says she stayed with her sister, Jean, for 2 weeks while she was on the run with her child. During that time, Jean says she witnessed some behavior from her sister that had her terrified. She said, quote, in February of 2011, my sister Laura showed up at my house unexpectedly. She stayed with me for 2 weeks while she was on the run with my niece. Laura told me she would have no problem turning a gun on her daughter and then herself if she saw police approaching her. The same day she was arrested, Laura choked my husband, loaded a gun, and said she wouldn't hesitate to shoot him during an argument. My niece was cowering in the corner and saw the whole thing. After Laura was arrested, I was cleaning out her car and found a rifle behind the back seat that the JCAT team missed. Now, Jean is joining us on the phone right now. Jean, are you there?
Yes, I am, Dr. Phill.
I have asked her straight up, did she or did she not say that if the police were closing in on her, she would take a gun, kill her daughter, and then herself rather than be captured? She said she never said that to Joe or anyone.
She has said that, Dr. Phill.
So she said that to you?
Yes, and my husband was
She's
right
lying.
there in the same room.
She's lying to cover up the fact that her husband walked in on my daughter bathing twice, and she did nothing. And that we were leaving, because he had attacked me. And in fact, my photos on Google show where his fingers left a bruise, and the records at Salt Lake County Jail also reflect the fact that he attacked me
that is not
less than a foot away.
You know
and the
that.
reason why she's lying is because there are laws in Utah, and he could be jailed.
Well, you're saying...
And not only that, but she has turned
Laura,
around and
what
colluded
about
with
the
him.
terroristic threat you made
She
to my
turned
husband,
around
which I
and
did not
colluded with him,
push charges?
trying to take the vehicle. She called my parents' house when I was out on bail and wanted $1,500.
What were you arrested for?
I was arrested for the malicious charges he pressed against me.
For?
Kidnapping. Interference
for these
with,
charges?
for interference with
for
child
these
custody.
charges,
Yes. Yeah. And
Dr. Phill,
there is
Let me ask you this. Did you ever fight with her husband?
Did I ever fight with her husband? Yes. He had me pinned up against the wall by my throat. And when I heard my daughter screaming and I looked down, she was a foot away from me.
Did you put the gun down to choke him back?
There was no gun involved.
There was a gun
There was
there,
no
Dr.
gun
Phill.
involved.
It was a pistol.
It was
and she
in a
loading,
locking
and when
gun
she was loading
case.
That, she was arguing with my husband. Then that's when she made the terroristic threat that she would kill him, and also her daughter if the police came in herself.
Dr. Phill, I did turn around and state that if he, after throwing him off me, that if he ever came near my daughter again, that there would be physical harm. Yes, I did. I did mention that. Yes, because
if you ever come near my daughter again, there will be physical harm.
I said if you ever come near my daughter again, that I'm going to hurt you. That's what I said.
You said you would kill him, not hurt.
You sound a lot like you're colluding stories with my ex. And in fact, that you tried to take possession of a vehicle because of your economic circumstances, you tried to capitalize and take possession of a vehicle that you are on tape.
You are wrong.
You are on tape.
I have not been in contact with Joe
This
at
is
all
the
for about the last
insanity
few
of
years.
my
So
family
how
of
can I
origin.
end up
This
being
is
in
why
collusion with
I
Joe?
turned around and cut all contact with them.
You chose to go stay with her for 2 weeks.
She was my last hope. She was my last hope.
I'm going to tell you what I think needs to happen here, and we're going to meet attorney and child advocate Areva Martin, who has some words for this whole situation when we come back. Well, just this morning, Joe gave us a voicemail recording from Laura from 4 years ago. It depicts a different side of Laura that just indicates to me that there's just a lack of insight here.
Next message. Withholding marital affections is ground for divorce. So go yourself, because we are getting divorced. You're psychologically abusing, emotionally abusing, physically abusing, financially abusing. We are getting divorced, and I am going to somebody else because I am moving on with my life. She's going to have a sibling without you. Off. I will never shed another tear over your piece of white trash ass. Anybody that would let their child stand out in the cold doesn't deserve a child. Die.
That was not done around our child. I know I'm qualifying, but that was not done around our child.
You guys are running these agendas here, and your daughter's paying for it. Yeah. Do you not get that?
I have been robbed of my daughter's first day of class. I have been robbed of my daughter's.
Laura.
I have been robbed of being there when she was sick. I have been robbed of being there for her birthdays. You have taken our daughter and completely skewed her perspective of her mother.
Jesus, because you threatened to kill her.
You threatened to kill her.
Our daughter's health.
You threatened that we would not make it to that court hearing alive.
Laura, why have you not gotten an attorney and set up at least supervised visitation in 4 years?
After I was acquitted, I was destitute. I went through a period of long-term homelessness, Dr. Phill.
Okay, attorney and child advocate Areva Martin has been listening to the show so far, and I know she has some advice for these parents. Areva, you cannot tell me that there are not services available to assist this woman with an attorney to go to court and just represent her long enough to get an order for supervised visitation to see her child in 4 years.
You're absolutely correct, Dr. Phill. And in fact, the court order in this case that's still standing says that you have the right to see your child with supervised visits. They have to be set up. You could be sitting in a jail cell. Instead, you're out. You got a second chance to get this right. Don't blow it.
At this point, she can start building this relationship back with her daughter and having visitation on a supervised level. That can happen within a matter of days. And then you need some help. You need some psychological help in getting yourself back on track. I'm going to set you up with Doctor on Demand. And this is a way we offer medical services and psychological services where you can sit right there in the privacy and comfort of your own home at an appointed time with a board-certified doctoral level therapist that I will hand pick for you that will start saying, all right, what do we need to do to begin rebuilding your parent plan? Our gift to you, okay?
Thank you.
If you at home want to have your own Doctor on Demand, go to Google Play Store or the iTunes App Store and download the Doctor on Demand app. I would like to thank all of my guests today. A special thanks to attorney and child advocate Ariva Martin. We'll see you later. Thanks so much.